before I spoke to myself to enunciate and project my volume.
And you can't hit the table like that, so just careful.
La le li lo lu.
That's not loud enough.
Ra re re ro ru.
That's perfect.
Sa se si so su. Ta te ti to tu.
Wah way wee wo woo. That sounds like.
I know we're starting a song.
Wah way wee wo woo.
La le li lo lu.
La le li lo lu.
It's my favorite.
Sa se si so su.
La le li lo lu. La le li lo lu. La le li lo lu.
So we're here in LA County. Whatever that means.
We're in LA proper. This is Inglewood, baby.
Bitches.
Inglewood in the house.
This feels like home for you?
It does. But only because I have family here, not because I'm acclimated to the West Coast vibe or the climate here. Only because my people are here. Where my people are, my family is.
Who's your people?
Shout out to Kimberly Durden, my sister from another mister, Saida, Cindy. So many folks I'm here to see. I'll see Ashley. So there's a lot. I did some of my training here. So I came back several years in a row, met a lot of the amazing, wonderful birth worker community here, had several of them in some of my classes, and of course come back regularly to see Kimberly. We were just here in January, so our second trip here this year.
Yeah, that's just over 6 months ago.
Yep, and come back this time to celebrate her opening her first center. So looking forward to seeing that. I know she's crazy busy with her new midwifery practice. She's a brand new midwife. Like True back at home in St. Louis, she's just getting her practice off the ground and as busy as can be. So
True Kelman in St. Louis.
Yeah. So I'm grateful.
Jama Birth Village.
Jama Birth Village. Shout
I
out.
Am Equity in Motion's
Whoop,
first
whoop.
training
Whoop, whoop.
under the belt.
Yes. So I'm just, I want to celebrate this big moment for Kimberly, just like I was there for True when she opened her prenatal clinic, her own clinic. I wanted to be here with Kimberly as she opened her new spot. So I just want to share those big moments with those who are close to me, so those who are family to me. So yes, in a sense I'm home because I have family here.
Home is where the heart is.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we are at the Airbnb here in Inglewood. Sorry, there's an Englewood in Chicago that I always get it confused with, but I realize that Englewood in Chicago is with an E and Inglewood is with an I. Here
yeah, spelled differently.
Yeah. So we're here in Inglewood at our Airbnb and woke up to do this little reflection time on the back patio with each other about our time in Arizona, Cottonwood, Arizona, at our now together, our dear friend Shell Luttrell's. And
shout out to Shell.
Shout out to Shell.
We just had an amazing 4 days there. She was an amazing, her and her partner Michael were amazing hosts to us. They have a beautiful farm ranch, not sure how you would describe it, right outside of the city of Cottonwood. And it was just an amazing, restful, and restorative time.
Don't start mumbling on me.
I'm not. I'm enunciating.
All right.
I'm enunciating. We had an amazing time. Did did some healing work there, had some restorative conversations.
It's a good word. I agree with restorative for that. Because also, like for me, restorative does mean rest, but it also means like filling your cup back up, like letting the flow happen. So when you are in the flow, you are letting something come out and you are also letting something in at the same time. And that to me is also the significance of restorative. It's not just filling up, but it's the process of filling up because you let something go or let something out or you expended something. And I feel like there is effortlessness in that can feel effortful when you are being observant of what is coming to teach you the lesson in restoration. And I do think that you and I both experienced a lot of restoration on that level of letting things flow through us and seeing the release of what was there before or just what needed some movement of energy.
And I really attribute that to a couple of things. One, Shell. I think we both spent a lot of time, just sort of taking...
Hold on for the plane. Just in case. I don't know how the microphone picks it up. We're going to have to do that a few times.
Right. So we're so near the airport. But taking advantage of her wisdom, and I think we talked to her separately and together, many conversations. But also the second thing was the land. The land itself was a restorative element.
And it's being restored currently in a way.
It is.
By the way that they are tending to it. And Shell's been on that land for 30-some years now. Since baby Shell was a thing. And babies were a thing for baby Shell.
Yeah.
And etc. The lineage goes on, and she's stewarding a land that she's in line to steward.
Yeah, that she's long been a part of. Kind of how I feel about Kansas City. It's like it's just a part of me. I'm a part of it.
Yeah, you do steward the land in Kansas City.
I do, in a different kind of way. I'm not
No, it's a city.
Farmer, but
yeah.
Yes, I keep the land. I preserve the land for my community, in a sense, yeah.
Well, and we were just talking about this morning about waking up in LA and how that felt, and you've just expressed how it feels like home for you, and I was expressing how I feel a little jumbled up. I used to think I was a city person, and I went to school in Chicago. I've done this before. LA is a different beast, but I even lived in Mexico City for a couple months. The big ass city. So,
yeah.
The vibe, I've been here before, and I'm reminded, just coming from such a small town with so much restoration of it can feel very easily like being trapped when I'm in a city. And it also is very beautiful and freeing, but it's a very, very different feeling for me. And so marrying the experience of where we've come from to where we are now, today, this morning, I did not feel earthed. I didn't feel grounded. I didn't feel unstable, but I didn't feel sure of myself. So.
Yeah, you just may need more time to acclimate. I definitely feel like I'm a city girl through and through. And I love the city vibe, even if I don't want to be in the thick of city activity. I find the energy of the city awakening and stimulating.
That's a great transition. Awakening and stimulating, because we had very awakening and stimulating experiences both on our way to Shells, at Shells, and on our way here to LA from Shells. Oh. And we wanted to bring that into this conversation as the focal point, right?
We totally did. That was, we did some work. We, as you said, we moved some shit.
Some spiritual moving, some spiritual lifting.
Which is what the trip was all about to begin with. It was definitely about rest, but also about just having the time to just be and to sit with that and to discover what was underneath that.
Right.
And we really done that work.
Yeah.
So where to begin?
Well, I was at the skate park. There happened to be a skate park, and there happened to be a disc golf course in Cottonwood, which is a surprise for me, considering a lot of places don't have either. So to have both in this tiny town in Arizona was exciting for me, and I got to spend my birthday doing things I loved, including both of those, rollerblading at the skate park and playing disc golf. And those are great reflections for me of myself, because they're individual activities I can do in group settings even, and I can do them at a distance, and I can, choose to engage with people how I want to, and it's a cool check-in with my physical body and my spiritual state, my emotional self, because of my reactivity to how things are going while I'm rollerblading or while I'm playing disc golf. But the impactful moment that I think is funny and of interest is when I was at the skate park. There were tons of children, like 9 to 15 years old kind of children, and I was the only seemingly not child skating. There were a few parents that were on the sidelines. But oh, we got a plane. But one of the kids asked me out of a group of kids very quietly, "Why are you wearing a crop top?" And it took me a second to register what was, like, it was even directed at me, because I was not in conversation with this person, nor were they like clearly talking to me. But I thought I heard crop top from the left, and I was like, what? Hold on. All right, I gotta check this out. So I looked at this kid who I thought said it, and they were looking at me. And I was like, did you just ask me why I was wearing a crop top? And they were like, yeah. I was like, because I like it. And then I turned around, because that was that for me. And they said, while I was turning around, they said, I was just curious. And I just love that moment, because it is part of that intention for coming here, was to meet people I needed to meet. And I think I needed to meet that child, and that child needed to meet me. I think it was really important that I was wearing a crop top at this skate park with a bunch of kids and demonstrating how to be an adult playing and being myself and being okay with that. And, in a way I felt like I missed an opportunity to continue and go deeper with that child, to maybe ask, like, you like wearing crop tops? Or, just have a little conversation. But I was so focused on the new surroundings and being myself within them that I had a slight conversation, but it didn't go farther than that. But I really think it was important, just that one-liner kind of thing, and just recognizing that was part of the intention for coming here, was things like that, was to learn about myself through the people I would need to meet and that I would meet, through testing my alone time, to all of it's all bound up in that. So I just wanted to share that.
I think that story reflects a real difference in our personalities, because we are really alike in a lot of ways, but we're also really opposite in a lot of ways, in that you seek out new outward experiences and I really don't. I really just want to hang with the people I already know, and if I do meet new people, it's by happenstance, it's not by design. Airplane. But one of my favorite moments of the time in Arizona was on your birthday as well. I had spent your birthday not with you, even though we were in the same place. Shell had invited folks over for me to meet, and I basically spent the day with them, but kind of observed out of the corner of my eye you coming and going and seemingly having a great day and doing the things you want to do. And when things did slow down after those guests had left, that's when you went to the skate park. Uh, so I thought I still wouldn't get to spend time with you on your birthday, and I went to bed while you were at the skate park. But when you came back, you woke me up and invited me to have birthday cake with you, which I happily did because I had hoped that we would have some time, alone time together on your birthday, just to visit and reflect on the day. And
well, you had mentioned that you wanted to spend time together, and I had said I wanted to go to the skate park first. So I was anticipating you still being up when I got back.
Oh.
So when you weren't up, I just wanted to plane. I'm gonna laugh if you can't even hear that on the recording.
You probably won't.
Probably
either.
won't. But I felt like, yeah, I was following through. You know, it's like I gotta go see if you're still awake or if you want to have cake, because I did want to spend time with you. But you know, if you went to sleep, that's okay too. But just to be clear, I wasn't just waking you up out of nowhere.
Oh no! And to be fair, you asked me to go to the skate park with you, and I said, "Nah, no thanks, not my bag." So you had invited me to spend time with you, and I chose not to. But I loved it. I love that you came by my room. I got up. We talked. We had cake. We talked some more, and it was delightful for me. I just really enjoyed our taking space for one another on your special day. And then it ended when Michael came to offer you a sound meditation session, and the two of you went off to do that, and I went back to bed, but it was lovely. And then we had a time, it was the day before that, when we participated in some ceremony with Shell and another Native woman. And that Marina. Yeah, I just don't always give names, but I didn't forget. I've known Marina for many years. I just don't always give names.
Okay.
And that was pretty groundbreaking.
Ground zero? Like groundbreaking, or?
Well, I'd done some ancestral work before, but this was sort of a whole nother level, and I just sort of left that whole experience feeling like I really wanted to connect to the ancestors more, that I just wanted more, that I wanted to hear from them more, that I wanted to understand them better, that I wanted the connection to be deeper, that I want to be sure that I'm in alignment with the work that I've been given to do.
It's like nurturing any relationship, pretty much, right?
Right. It's a relationship. That is absolutely how I see it. It's another kind of relationship.
Well, I think it's important for anybody who's listening, whether you have a connection with your ancestors or ancestry or ancestors or what, your past or whatever, to realize that like you can start that at any time, just like you can start a new relationship at any time. Like it's something you build connection to if you don't have it, and if you do have it, you can nurture it. You know, there's practice in that. It's not a you do or you don't, you know. I think there's a lot of mysticism that people get confused about within, you know, the spiritual practice.
Right, or think it's taboo.
Sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, hopefully that even just grounds it for some folks to think about it as like, if you wanted to start a new friendship, or you had a coworker who you enjoy spending time with, and you're like, well, maybe we should get together outside of co-working. Maybe we should, go for dinner sometime, or you should come on over, or you met somebody online and you're trying to have a romantic connection. You go on dates and you nurture that relationship, and you decide one step at a time how far you want to go, what your connection's like. So yeah, I just want to encourage folks to see it through that lens, because I like the way you're putting it.
It was a very ethereal experience, and yet very grounding at the same time. And I often don't have an experience of both those things simultaneously. But it was amazing and beautiful. And I'm trying to talk Shym into sending me the pictures. Shym did some photo shoots of me on the land. I'd like to post some of them. So hopefully I'll get to post those photos, and then
You will. I'm not holding them from
all right. I sometimes you don't want to share, so, which is fine. That's okay. And I would say the other most significant moment for me thus far on the trip was our 8-hour drive here last night from Arizona to California. I feel like we did some really deep work during that car ride. I mean, we do fun stuff. We sing at the top of our lungs, rolling down the highway, music we both like. But then we get really, really serious and have these conversations that are really gut level and really revealing and transparent. And I think it's true that I've probably cried in front of you more than any other person ever.
Ever?
Because I just don't do it.
Sounds like, yeah. I don't cry very often either. So that's all right. I didn't realize that about you.
Yeah, I just don't. I am not a crier. But you have seen me ugly cry on numerous occasions.
I don't think it's ugly crying.
Oh, yeah.
I think you think it's ugly crying. It doesn't feel like that. I see you in those moments as allowing and letting go. That doesn't have the same weight that I feel like ugly cry does, where there's this breakdown. I think I don't usually feel you breaking down. I feel like you're letting go.
I can see that. But what I appreciate about that is I'm not the only one getting vulnerable. You're being vulnerable too.
Usually I'm first.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth telling.
Yeah.
Which can be really shocking.
Yeah. I like what you said about gut. It feels gut-wrenching from time to time.
Yeah. It's the hard work of relationship, and we're in the thick of it.
Well, to me, it's really about self-relationship through relationship to the quote-unquote other. That's what I always come back to. It's like, even the idea of like gut-wrenching, or the gut feeling, or whatever. I also think of it now in a little bit of like, it's like gutting a fish, like the work that we're doing, because it's like you're taking the death of something, and in order to like let the enjoyment or nutrients to come through, you got to take out the insides, and you got to do that cleanly as possible, so you don't risk infection. But you still got to do it, and then you take out the insides, and then you get to move on. With the meat, the rich nutrients. And I think it can feel that way when we're doing this kind of work. It can feel like gutting yourself. Gutting myself sometimes. I feel like I'm scooping out my insides. Sorry, y'all, but that's how it feels. It feels like I'm scooping out my insides with a fucking knife and a spoon sometimes, and like purging. And it's necessary. It feels very necessary. It feels like a cleansing.
Well, I'm glad to hear you describe it that way, because that's certainly how I experience it, and I wouldn't want to be experiencing that with you alone if I were the only one doing it. But we're both taking the same risk. We're both being vulnerable with one another. And that's what builds the trust that we have.
Right. And I think it's important to note that, like, we practice. We've been practicing for some time, and you and I still have a lot of hiccups here and there, but overall they're really minuscule compared to the gut-wrenching we've really done.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's interesting to note that because, even last night, I had to tell you that you don't listen to me, that you don't believe me when I tell you I love you sometimes.
Yeah, you did. And I had to reflect on that. And you're right, that's about my own feelings of worthiness. That you are saying these things, why am I not receiving them? And what's the block?
Right.
Yeah, and often the block is me and my own self-perceptions, my own beliefs.
Right.
My own perceptions, which is what I'm largely working on shifting, is my perceptions.
When I said this thing last night that I had said for the first time, but I feel like it's something I've been practicing for some time, which is why it came out. It's that framework I told you in that moment. It was very organic, but I remember it, thankfully, which was that story, the narratives that we tell ourselves, are really pointing to a feeling. And the feeling that we have is really pointing to an experience in our past.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the feeling comes from. And that experience from our past that has contained that feeling to create that now narrative is really just a place for healing to occur.
And that just hit me right in my heart, because that totally resonated with me. I had just been walking stepwise through that whole process, just as you laid it out, even though we didn't label it that way, with my therapist, because I've been doing my therapy sessions online and keeping them steadily going even while I'm away, because we're just so in the thick of the work. And walking back through those childhood narratives, examining the feelings that are attached to those, and rewriting the stories has been so powerful. So powerful. And we do that work with each other.
Yeah, I mean, we do that in our waking life with each other just by being our friendship selves. We're rewriting, and I think that's what you always speak to, and I agree with, is that, like, our relationship is really important for people to experience because it rewrites a narrative.
It totally, or creates a narrative that was never there.
Well, no, because the narrative between you and me is slave owner and enslaved. That's where it comes from. That's our history together.
That's the recreation of that narrative, yes, but together we are creating a narrative that didn't before exist.
But that's exactly what you're doing with your childhood.
Right. Yeah, right.
So I'm saying it's the same thing.
Didn't actually happen that way, but but I am choosing to recreate it.
Well, and there's a key difference, though, too, is that we're not going back and saying, I don't come from an ancestry of slave owners or enslavers, and that you don't come from an ancestry of being enslaved by my people. We're not saying that didn't happen, but we're rewriting in real time what that is, what that new relationship is. And we are adjusting our scope and the context of the previous narrative, but I don't feel like we're going back together intentionally to imagine something that didn't happen. I think that could be a very powerful thing, but I don't think that's what we're doing right now.
No, I think we're forging a new narrative. Yeah, I agree that we're rewriting the old narrative and at the same time creating a new narrative.
Yeah. Maybe it's on the fly the way we're writing the old narrative, because even on this trip, you just told me that you think, and I agree with this, I thought it was really interesting, that whiteness is becoming less and less centered in our relationship as it develops.
Yes.
As our relationship develops.
That's true. I found myself in moments reminding myself that you're white, which is really weird. Like going back and putting that lens or that filter back on because it fell off, and but I think that that speaks to the level of trust in our friendship that's not what I see first when I look at you.
Right.
Anymore.
Right.
Anymore. I just see Shym.
And I think if we were to really do the healing work of rewriting our past as a country, as a nation, as a world, that would be a point we'd want to get to. We want to get to a point where we were upfront about our past, to the point of the lens falling off of whiteness, so we could see what was really operating underneath all that and addressing it together in relationship that is equal parts vulnerable.
Yes. So much work to be done. And I love that we're doing it through the personal narrative, because I'm a storyteller by nature. I mean, I come from a family of storytellers. Perhaps my people in antiquity were griots. Who knows? But the storytelling format is certainly one that resonates with me, that speaks to me, and that I work well through. So I'm grateful that you're open to that, and we do a lot of
telling. I'm not just open into it. I am a storyteller.
Right. And we largely do our work together through the vehicle of story.
Right.
So, shall we wind down?
Yeah.
Because I think we've spoken to a lot.
Yeah.
Today. In fact, our first day here in LA, we're just sort of going to rest and take it easy because we've done so much psychological, emotional, psychic, mental
we're
work.
Physical too. We're moving through different climates.
Well, we're certainly experiencing it in our bodies,
right?
For sure, and feeling it in our bodies. But it's been good. It's what the trip was for, and I know, Shym, you expressed some real breakthroughs about discovering some things during this trip, and I have too. That gave us greater understanding of what this trip was for. But I think we both expected that to happen, that we would discover as the trip went on what we were taking the trip for.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
All right, should we end it with a wrap like we always do?
No, we do not end with a rap. That is not our thing. We do not do that. Shym is trying to get me to do things outside my comfort zone that I don't do. So Scooby Dooby Doo. I'm not gonna do it.
You just did it.
Later, village.
Bye.